Hi, my name is Jamilla, and I am a therapist, and I work with a lot of my clients who have children in the system. So we have two ladies here who have experienced their children being in the system and how difficult it is to get them back once they are up into the system, whether family has them in their foster care or whether they are sent out to somebody else in foster care.
I've had an open DCFS case in the past, a very long time ago. Maybe 14 years ago, and the case was finally closed 12 years ago. My kids were in the system for 2 years. It's still... I'm getting emotional now.
Okay, take a deep breath.
My kids are older now, and they're adults, and it still impacts them. Like my oldest daughters, they still, like, we see pictures, like we just moved into a house, and I finally got my house, and I've never really decorated a place, but we took all our pictures out and we were going through the pictures, and like my kids are just like, see pictures from like Alexandria House, and it's still, they're older now. Back then my daughter was maybe 5 when she was in the system. She's 17 now, and she sees those pictures and they still affect her.
Oh,
I think it affects all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's kind of like, now it's just kind of like, we're doing a lot better. I mean, we've been doing a lot better, and I finally have my house and everything, so it's taken us a while, but
so 12 years later, they're still being impacted by the trauma of being separated from you?
Impacted by it because a couple of things that happened in my case were swept under the rug. They were taken away because I am a domestic violence survivor. My ex-husband was extremely abusive and controlling. I thought my only way out of the relationship was suicide. Mm-hmm. And I figured he wouldn't take care of the children. My mom would. My mom would eventually get the children. And since I couldn't get away from him, he wouldn't leave me alone. I thought,
look, take your time. Just breathe.
Let's just bring up like a lot of stuff. So, I figured if I was gone, my ex-husband wouldn't want anything to do with the children, and my mom would get the kids. So I was very suicidal. My kids were taken away, and I ended up in the psych hospital. And it took me 2 years to get them back. And they were in foster care for the first 3 months that they were in DCFS care. And the foster mother slapped my daughter, who's still affected by it, because she didn't eat all of her food at dinner time. So the foster mom just slapped her across the face. And my other daughters remember it too. And she was 5, no, maybe she was 3 then. She's 17 now. She still talks about it.
Did they keep her in that home? Did they keep her in that home?
They were there for 3 months until my mom was finally able to get temporary custody of them while I was in the psych hospital. And I had really bad PTSD. I think I was in the psych hospital for maybe 2 months, 3 months. Pretty much the whole time they were in foster care, I was in the psych hospital. And I had really bad PTSD. I had night terrors. I would scream in my sleep. I had a lot of flashbacks. Like I was in really bad shape. And my ex-husband was still looking for me at the time. And he was freaking out, not over the kids, not for the kids being in foster care. He never went to court for that to try to do any of that stuff. He never went to court. As soon as they took the kids away, he was gone. But he was still worried about where I was, you know? So at the time, it was more about my safety and getting better. And the kids' safety too, and I don't know, it took me 2 years to get the kids back. But there were so many things going on in the case that didn't make, like we saw a social worker once a month, and then we would go to court, and you only get to see your attorney for like 5 minutes before you go into the courtroom.
Right. There's no prep or anything.
There's no prep or anything, and you have to show up with copies of everything that you've done for your casework or what,
case
management, so you have to show up with that. You barely get 5 minutes to talk to your attorney, and your attorney has to speak for you in court, so you don't even get to speak for yourself.
Right.
You know, and sometimes these caseworkers, you only see them once a month, and sometimes not even that.
Would you say that was one of the biggest obstacles for you?
Yeah,
as
like
far as getting kids back?
Caseworker is supposed to come and see you once a month. Sometimes they don't even show up.
Right.
You know,
so
and you're supposed to tell them how you're progressing and you get a case, and they want you to do all these things: parenting classes, domestic violence classes, therapy, all these different things. So you're getting them done and everything. But sometimes the caseworkers don't even show up, so you can show them the progress that you're making or the progress that your kids are making. But then they have to report to their supervisor. And a lot of stuff just seems like it gets swept under the rug. Like my daughter getting smacked in the face, nobody did anything about that.
And they never removed her from that home.
No, they didn't remove her.
Abuse, but then...
And my other kids even said she got slapped in the face.
So there was witnesses.
They didn't do it. They didn't remove her. So
that had to be hard.
Like DCFS is ridiculous. Like.
Yeah, 2 years.
Even with the expectations, I think.
And it seems like a lot of these caseworkers too are brand new, fresh out of college, just got their what is it, their social worker degree or whatever. No kids, so everything is like textbook. They don't know how to raise a kid. They don't know what it's like to raise children.
Right.
You know, they're just out of college. They don't have kids. So it just seems like everything's textbook. So they don't really understand what it takes to be a parent or how to parent. So you have to kind of like I don't know, like with me it was just kind of like following the social worker's lead, because it's like you're under the microscope, so you're like, if I do something wrong, they're gonna write me a bad report, you know? So there's not a lot of
the fear of them adopting them out eventually.
Yeah.
That's a legit fear right there, like them adopting them all.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of guidance on what steps to take.
Yeah,
to get to where they want you to be.
Yeah.
They're mainly there to like watch you, and then rarely do they give advice, or rarely like you have questions and stuff. They don't give you really much. They say, oh, here's your resource, here's your resource, here's your resource. You know what I mean? And it's, when you don't have a car, you know, sometimes it's difficult to get back and forth. I know they give you bus passes and everything, but it's still it's exhausting. You know? Yeah. You got a therapy appointment, then you have a parenting class, and then you have a domestic violence class, or you have, you know.
Most of them doing the working hours.
You know, if you're working, you know what I mean? It's just, it gets crazy. But,
well, thank you, Kezzi, for that, because that was really helpful and a lot.
And I can also say I experienced much of the same, going through domestic violence, and it just felt like you were a victim all over again when you're in court. You know, they're attacking you, putting you down, making you feel like less than a mother, incapable of being a mother for your children because you picked the wrong partner. All you want was a family. Who was to say that, you know, that partner was not the suitable one for your children? But I totally agree. The system was really hard. They expect a lot out of you, and making it really tough as far as financially when you're already down. Who could work? Doing all those things that you're supposed to do. It's really impossible. Having young children, going through the bus system, trying to get from A to B. It just was really tough.
How many children did you have?
6. Yeah, 6. And when
So that had to be a lot.
yeah, it was really rough. So like I said, I just felt like a victim all over again, but trying to get through that system of you're not doing enough, you're not doing it within the timeline that we're asking.
And how long were they in the system?
They were in the system forever. I never got them back. They came once they were adults. They all came. She hadn't, she wasn't getting any more money for them, so of course they came back to me. But I got to see them on a regular basis because
So you
they
had
wanted
beyond
to see me.
obstacles. You just never got to. They,
No, I came to Alexandria House, and this was back in 2000. Oh my God, 6 or something. And yeah, it was really tough back then. Now they're a lot more lenient as far as getting them back. At that point, no. I had a really tough fight with the system.
So, as far as domestic abuse goes, because I know a lot of my clients that are in domestic situations, they're in trouble for failure to protect. Was that either one of you guys?
I think when it comes to domestic violence, judges, social workers, even attorneys, your own attorney has this
Right.
attitude. Well, you knew what was going to happen. Why didn't you get out? If it was that easy, I'd be gone. You know.
Right.
Yeah, that's usually the problem for domestic.
It's easier to say it than to actually do it when you're
Right.
financially dependent, when you're under someone else's control, where if you try to leave, you're going to get your ass kicked. I'm sorry.
Worse.
You know
Worse.
what I mean?
Yeah,
And
that make it
that's-
worse.
And that's really what I went through because after trying for, I think, 6 months, and they only give you a year to get it together, and then they close the case. So that was the whole story. They closed my case because I didn't get together for a year. I was in Corona, coming all the way out here in LA. So I didn't make it in time for the court hearing, so I lost custody. I was on 3 buses
Wow.
to be here at 8 a.m. to court. So, yeah, that was one of the downfalls. As well as, I just went back. I went back to the situation.
You went back to domestic situation, which happens,
Yeah.
and
I had no family.
mhm.
I did have family, but, I felt guilty. I felt
Right.
ashamed. I felt like,
Mhm.
I had no confidence in myself, low self-esteem, and that still haunts me today.
Yeah. Those wounds are slow to heal.
Yeah, and then trying to get them back. Like you have to have a stable situation in order for your children to be returned home. My situation was I was living with my dad at the time, and my dad became they put me on SSI because my PTSD, and I had major depression and everything from being in an abusive relationship. That my dad was my conservator for a time, and I was living with him, but DCFS had made it, okay, well, you did all your programs, you finished all your programs, we're thinking about, giving you back your kids. Even though the social worker was still kind of having her doubts, even though I was doing everything that I'm supposed to, because I'm not, there was just a lot of pressure. Because the social worker I remember she seemed like fresh out of college, no kids, and everything was by the book. It was kind of hard for me to interact with the kids because I'm like, what if I do something wrong?
Right.
That they don't agree with. Is that going to give me a bad report in court? So another one of the things was to have my kids back, I had to have a place to stay. I couldn't, at the time I had 5 children. There was really no room in my dad's house. He had like a 1-bedroom.
For 5 kids,
One bedroom, 2-bedroom place, and my brother, his wife was staying there too. So, I tried to find a shelter or some kind of living, like transitional living or whatever, and nobody wanted to take me in because my kids are still with my mom, and I couldn't live with my mom. So
Right. That's another obstacle, is getting into a shelter, a family shelter, where DCFS will approve to get your kids back, but the shelters won't take you without your kids.
yeah.
Right.
So that's another huge obstacle, and shelters need to be like more open to that, like work, or DCFS needs to like work with shelters, or you know what I mean. That's how I came to Alexandria House, because they took me in, and I had my son, he was a baby with me, and I was able to bring the other 4 home because I was here.
Because you had,
yeah,
spot to go to. But that is an issue. I've seen people, DCFS takes the kids, and then they say, well, you have to get a place, and the shelters won't take you in. So it's like a merry-go-round.
Yeah, and then you run out of time on your case, and there goes your kids.
Yeah.
Because just because you couldn't find a place, because there's and there's just so much wrong with it. And it's not just DCFS, it's the whole.
It's a timeline that...
Cowards, it's cash aid, it's food stamps, it's all these different programs that are designed to help you. And they just give you like the bare minimum, and a lot of times that's not even enough, And you're trying your hardest to get your kids back, and to make things better, to do the right thing, and you keep getting pushed down, and there's all this weight on top of you. And you're held under a microscope, and a lot of these people that they haven't gone through these situations, domestic violence, all this stuff. It's all what you see on TV, what you read in the news. You know what I mean? It's like we need more advocates who've gone through these things, who can stick up for people who have their kids in DCFS.
Yeah. But that brings you back to your saying that you go back to the abuser, because if you really can't make it, like you're saying, you're not getting enough of this, there's too much of that, and the abuser may have money.
Well, he was a father, so I figured, well, let's both try and get him back.
Right.
So we did that route, and that was even worse.
It was even worse.
Yeah.
So it's like a trap, no matter what. Like you're getting caught in it.
Yeah. So.
But Alexandria House was one of the only shelters that overlooked that. So it was great to be able to get accepted in somewhere and have your kids come visit you in a shelter. But even that was not looked at, it was frowned upon, I don't know, we can have them in a shelter for visitation, that doesn't sound right. So that was even an issue.
Yeah.
So I'd go to them and have visits, But now they're adults and they're all happy with me.
Yeah.
So, thankfully they forgave me.
Yeah.
It's
and
hard.
I have heard.
It's hard.
Yeah, domestic violence I think is a big part of DCFS, and now California has the failure to protect, which basically, even if people are arguing and there is no physical violence, if the kids are in the house, whether they're upstairs or downstairs or nowhere near the parents, they can be removed from the home. And because it's hard to prove there was no physical, if the cops are called, that's pretty much it. They're in the hands of DCFS. So just trying to find ways to make it easier on the moms to keep the trauma out of the families. Like you're saying, your daughter still is activated.
Yeah.
And I'm sure your kids do too.
Oh, definitely.
These things don't go away.
I think it probably would have been easier for her to deal with, or if it wasn't swept under the rug like it was. It's kind of like nobody says anything, so maybe it'll go away on its own. That makes it easier for the social worker to just, they don't have to move them, they don't have to find them another foster home or whatever. It was ridiculous. But I think for women who do have an open DCFS case, they need to keep in touch with their lawyers, their attorneys, if you don't have your own, to be able to contact your attorney because like I was on the phone. She never called me back, but she got my emails, you know. So it's kind of like knowing your rights, because back then I didn't know. I thought that was it. I didn't know I had rights, you know. Like they don't tell you.
No,
Yeah.
you don't have
You know,
rights.
there's not a little-
You didn't have rights. Then.
You know.
Yeah, it's hard to believe you have rights when you
Yeah.
probably
I didn't
don't
know.
feel
I thought I
empowered at
just
all.
had to do what they said, and
Mhm.
that was it. Like I didn't even know there was domestic violence shelters out there, to be honest, until
Mhm.
everything hit the fan. So I don't know.
Yeah. So, does anybody have anything else they want to add?
I don't know. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. So I think that wraps it up. That everybody can see what mothers go through, what children go through when they get into the system. Really hard on both, and traumatizing families. The scars that will last forever.